We can talk with Elisabeth Barna about this, Dave. You had a question about medium-sized coffees, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, well, first off, is Elizabeth there?
Is Elizabeth here?
I don't know. Are you?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, I did my job.
But where
Hey.
are you here?
Hey, Elizabeth. Good morning. Welcome to Nemo Nation.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for being had.
Oh, Dave.
That sounded like Jackie Mason might have said
By
that.
the way, it's Jackie Mason's birthday today. What is it? I'm going to go steal a television set. That's one of the funniest routines I've ever heard in my life. Remind me to tell you about that in the wake of
Okay.
the Los Angeles riots. Okay, really quickly, Elizabeth Barna is here. You have a question, Dave, you want to ask her, though, about coffee.
Okay, if you wanted a small, medium, or large coffee at a coffee shop, how would you ask for that? Would you ask for the small, medium, or large, or would you ask for it in the language that they have put up on their board?
There's only one right answer.
That's not true. Elizabeth?
Did we lose her?
I would ask for small, medium, or large.
Okay.
Good for you.
There's the right answer.
Good for you. Good for you.
So we have a place here in New Orleans, and it's a small chain, but I think it's local. It's called French Press. Really good, great coffee, good sandwiches and soups and stuff, salads, and everything's in French. So you have small as petite, and medium is moyen, Moyen. And I always get a medium thing at a coffee shop, and half the time I'll say medium, and I've always often wondered what the people working behind the counter think when you ask in the like, is he going to say medium or is he going to say moyen?
I'm just going to say large and leave it at that. Elizabeth, I have to tell you, this is the prep work for Nemo Nation. This is what we
I
did
got
on
more on
Saturday.
I got Starbucks right here.
He's
You
got
want-
Starbucks stories you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Barna, how you doing? Welcome to Nemo Nation.
I am doing great. Thank you, guys. Great show. I've been listening.
Oh,
I'm so
thank
excited
you.
for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Let me ask you, let me get the ball rolling here. So what are you working on now? What were you tracking last week? And what are you looking forward to this week? We'll just kind of throw you in the deep end.
Oh, my gosh. There's so much going on in the trucking world between drivers and technology, Congress and what they're doing. I guess one of the biggest things that is happening is that Congress approved the congressional resolutions that will roll back, the advanced clean truck rule coming out of California, so that 75% of the Class 8 trucks sold in this state that were supposed to be zero emissions by 2035 is being rolled back, which will also affect other states that were sort of following suit. So that's good news, since we won't be able to get those all rolled back in time, and was sort of a mandate that wasn't really necessary. So I think that was a big victory for trucking for right now, at least.
It might be actually another victory for California small businesses as well, because a lot of people in the
Exactly.
wake of that had picked up their. I mean, I can tell you, I know people who literally had trucking companies in right around the border of Southern California and Arizona, who just literally had either picked up and already left too late. But there are other people who were thinking about, as that deadline got closer, as all that kind of technology demand got closer, we're really in that terrible position of, as an owner-operator, or as a small business, do I pick up and then move across state lines? And a lot of those folks might stick around now. So there may be, and it looks like California isn't going to go to the mattresses to fight it either, if that makes
Right.
any sense. And they're not
Well,
going to, they got other things they're worried about right now,
A little bit like the independent contractor role, when a lot of the independent contractors moved out of California. But it also, I know in Washington state, they were offering incentives, and the trucking companies were saying, we don't want incentives, we don't want the rule. So it's not about money. It's about being able to get the equipment and make those changes and mandates. So I think that was one big thing. I think a couple weeks ago, Aurora, it was putting humans back in the driver's seat, not driving their driverless trucks, but actually putting a human in the seat, which I think is good on a lot of different fronts, but especially for the image of the industry, I think that does a lot to show that, there is a professional driver, that that job is not going to be obsolete. And so I think that was something that was a big deal. And then I think on the driver recruiting and retention front, I read something where Ace Driving Academy in Waco, Texas, said that 45% of their recent CDL grads were Gen Zs, and that those, are 1997 to 2012 is that Gen Z area, but that was, you know, incredible since the average driver age is really 46, and
Boy.
so that folks are starting to turn, at least in Waco, to truck driving as a career option and looking for stability,
About
which I thought was interesting.
About 10 years ago or so, ATRI was putting out numbers like the average age of someone in truck driving school was like 40, 45, 46 years old. So, yeah.
As opposed to the graying out of
Right.
the industry,
Yeah.
you started to see that.
Do you think, and it's been my contention too, that if these kids, and I'm talking about high school
these newfangled
if these
kids, with these
if they
We
knew,
can all use kids now.
I remember a trucking executive telling me about 20 years ago, well, there are 6 computers under the hood of this truck. And it's like, wait a minute. Those 6 computers have like 100 computers telling them what to, in other words, it is a cyber world when you pop the hood of a truck and then go into the cab and, so do you think kids are getting the what's the key here to get these kids in? Is it the message that, wait a minute, these trucks are super high tech and they're even at CES now in Vegas? I mean, there's a whole trucking section.
Oh,
at
I got pictures of
CES.
those when Brad and I went to CES. There's some new, like I said, there is some stuff that is really groovy, and I'm wondering. You talk about recruitment, Elisabeth. The idea that we were, Tim Ashoff gave Dave and I a call a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the idea that, in order to have retention in trucking, you need to give people the money they need to make a living. You need to give them the time they need to enjoy that living. But then you've also got to give them the equipment they need to actually get the job done comfortably and well, so that their pillar-to-post drive is actually physically comfortable and manageable. And I'm wondering, as Dave is asking, do you think that that the technology aspect is what's maybe getting us a little bit of traction with Gen Z into the industry?
I do think that. I think a lot of, with working with drivers, the younger driver is much more excited about what's inside the truck and the telematics, what type of equipment they have, what's going to make their job easier, what they can find on an app. I also think that not having debt, college tuition, is a big deal. I think that trucking companies today realize how important home time is. But one of the biggest things that a carrier can do or a shipper can do is communication, and have an open communication and transparency. And I think that's where a lot of companies today, especially during this economic uncertainty and these low rates and all, are losing the boat, is by not being transparent and not being visible.
Wait, Elisabeth, are you telling me that actually telling potential and current employees the truth about what's going on might be best practices? I can't believe it. I lie to Dave all the time, and it's worked out incredibly well for me. I don't understand what it is you're talking. The other thing is, it's really kind of cool with like a lot of these trade school programs that you literally have people. I've met people who are getting their CDL in an 8-week program at a community college while simultaneously taking Spanish classes. And a lot of these kids are mixing and matching. This kind of trade school energy is going on, where you have people that are building bits and pieces of a career early on and then bringing all that skill set into the industry. It's kind of an exciting time. Kind of.
It is exciting. And I think some of them are also taking, like communications or web design, or, they're doing their own podcasts or their own TikToks. And so communication to them is very, very important, and learning how to communicate. And so then the C-suite isn't communicating, or they're not, their open door policy during tough times are closed door now. And that's when drivers are starting to look for new jobs.
Oh, wow.
And thinking maybe this isn't the place for them anymore. And so, my advice for a driver is look around and don't jump just to jump. But if, there is something out there, that is better, and talk to your friends before you make that jump. Talk to folks that are working there, because it always looks like the grass might be greener on the other side, but it truly may not be, you know. I had a client at one point that a lot of drivers would jump and then they would come back. They said, oh, well, you know, you were right, but you just have to really do your homework.
Elisabeth, we new format, ferociously fast format. We're out of time here. Tell people where they can go to find out more about you if they want your services or your consultation. Do you do that anymore, or do you want to just kind of make?
I do.
Tell us quickly.
Sure.
Go.
You can email me at elisabeth.barna@eabstrat.com.
Fantastic, by the way. This is one of the smartest people in the industry, and that's the reason why we have her on the first Nemo Nation. Thank you, Elisabeth. We love you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Elizabeth.